Howdy.
Yo, 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 how's it going, Mr. V-Man?
Pretty okay, except my internet seems to be a little bit on the fritz today, so hopefully we don't have any issues with that.
That's okay, man. Russian saboteurs are everywhere. Look behind every corner, man. There's a red everywhere these days.
Unironically true. Red Scare too, except this time it's good. How you doing?
Red Scare 2 Electric Boogaloo. I'm doing okay. I'm back from Ukraine. I'm back in the great state, the best state in the whole United States, Maryland, okay? I'm back in Maryland. It's fantastic to, visit with family and see friends and relax a bit. Be able to use services like DoorDash, and the ease of it is just very nice. But it's weird readjusting. It's difficult, and all I can think about is going back. So I'm trying to head back in January or February.
Jesus Christ, man. Um, well, I won't deter you, I'm impressed by your bravery. Just make sure to get some R&R before you head back into an active war zone, okay?
Look, I'm doing my best to relax, but the thing is, right? Rest and relaxation is important. Definitely when you're dealing with, situations like we were dealing with over there. Extremely important. But the thing is it's not like all just doom and gloom over there. Like you have buddies that you hang out with. You have like you drink with people, you eat with people. I used to go to this place around Kiev. I remember, I'd go to the front line anytime I needed to come back and just relax for like a week after like some weird stuff that happened, or I just want to relax. I go to this compound that's hosted by a friend of mine, and it's like 100% renewable. They got solar panels and windmills designed by the family. 100% renewable, and I could just sit there and watch pirated movies and get smoked up with legal substances, of course, and you could get smoked up and just relax for like a week or two before heading back out. And it was fantastic because it allowed me to kind of avoid a lot of the war fatigue that a lot of other people deal with.
Yeah, oh man, you're feeling it, aren't you? This is the thing. It's like it's dangerous over there, but people are alive, as opposed to the banality of day-to-day life in the just before fascist uprising United States. I mean, to an
Absolutely.
extent, right? Like there's more purpose over there. There has to be.
There's a reason why I'm doing this, right? It isn't because I'm just like an adrenaline junkie or something, right? Even though there is a possibility that plays a small role, right? It's impossible to tell exactly what. But a lot of it is that there is purpose over there, and like there is something to it, like the event, like there's always like an event happening, something to do. There's always work around. Like even if I just go to like the diner, there's a chance that like the sirens will just start blaring, and I'll make a note of it. And at the time it's extremely annoying, but now it's strange that it's not there. Not saying that I want it, but there's something about the familiarity of hearing those things so often that's like strangely, like, I don't want to say alluring, but it's like something that like kind of, it's different. The banality of it is weird. It's weird that I can just like order a bunch of food on my phone no matter where I'm at, basically in the United States, and it'll just be delivered to my home in 30 seconds, perfectly cooked. That's weird to me.
Yeah, I don't want to
How
romanticize living in a conflict zone, but I can't imagine that the stark contrast between the convenience of living here and the austerity of living there definitely helps you like better understand your priorities and what actually matters to you.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, now I really feel a lot of passion for my work that I'm doing now, which was a problem because I didn't feel a lot of passion for my work for online for a little bit. Like I started feeling like I was getting disconnected from the real world, hosting these constant internet debates about like what's the best linguistic way to call somebody a retard without using the word retard because retard is ableist, right? Like these conversations are interesting and everything, but like this isn't like real world shit, dog. Like you don't feel this shit in the real world. Or you go outside, this isn't tangible. The type of work I'm doing over there is so much more tangible, has a like an actual effect on people's lives. And seeing like all the aid that goes over there because of some of the people I interviewed, I'm like super hyped about that. But it is very banal, and I do kind of just want to go back as soon as possible.
Yeah, I fully get that. I think it yeah, I can't imagine what that would do to my psyche, like the switch between those two environments. Either way, it goes without saying that everyone over here is incredibly impressed with what you've been doing. Um,
Thank you, appreciate that.
how do you feel? Okay, so yeah, how do you feel about what's going on over there at the moment, situation wise? I talked recently to Richard Hannay, a person who I'm sure you know,
Yep.
um, on the ongoing state of like the military movements and how things are going there. But as somebody who's been there personally, like how do you feel things have turned?
People are in generally high hopes. Like there is general confidence in Ukraine's ability to continue the struggle and like continue to win. The thing is, like, while I was over there, Ukraine had a ton of victories. I went to the Kharkiv Oblast right after the successful Kharkiv counteroffensive. I was actually there when we started to hear basically less artillery and everything else was just became missiles because they were no longer in range. And talking to people there, especially those who were there to push back the Kupiansk counteroffensive. I remember I was there, and I actually interviewed a soldier. Like I can't really get too deep into who he was. I'm not allowed to share who he was or what role he served. We have to censor him from everything if we like include his stuff. But he was like, yeah, like everybody in Kharkiv is fighting. Like when I was there, we didn't see a lot of soldiers on the street because all of them was on the front line because the counteroffensive was so successful that they were just like, fuck, we actually don't have enough soldiers to take advantage of the holes that we're making. And that was like a really big W over there. And I really felt the spirit around that. But I also was over there to like film like schools that were like blown up and like playgrounds that were targeted and stuff like that. So like even if there's like this feeling of like, wow, we got this, and like, oh my gosh, we're pushing them back, we're doing the impossible, we're defeating the so-called second most powerful army on the planet, like every bit of the way Russia's making it as painful as possible. And you can even see it from the strategy now. The strategy right now for the winter is to freeze the Ukrainians to death. That is the strategy. They admit it openly. And I'm telling people not to go listen to the Russian language outlets that translate to English by Russian media and then they send them over. I'm saying go look at the Russian state media that they send to the domestic audience. Not the stuff that they send for you to consume on Russia Today, English speaking stuff that they put in the mouth of whoever their spokesperson is going to be. Go listen to their own media. They talk openly about freezing the Ukrainians to death, making them pay for their hubris. If we displace another 10 to 15 million, then the Ukrainian problem will solve itself. And the Ukrainian problem will become a Polish problem. Like this, and this is openly said on Russian state media. And this is why the New Lines Report published a report. The New Lines Institute published a report saying that this language, combined with many of their actions of almost like cultural annihilation in Ukraine, could make the argument for a potential genocide occurring. So I would say that even though Ukraine is winning success after success, like those successes are drenched in the blood of innocent people and Ukrainian soldiers who died to have to achieve it because Russia is going down swinging and like biting as hard as possible. The Kherson counteroffensive was a great example of this. During the Kherson withdrawal, and I was actually there for the start of the Kherson counteroffensive, I released a video recently called "I Got Shelled by the Russian Army." I hope people go check it out. It's got like 8,000-9,000 views. If it got more attention, that'd be fantastic. And in it, we were in Mykolaiv. We were there to film at a local hospital. And talk to hospital staff about a hospital that got blown up by the Russians. It was the only, it was a really advanced, more modern medical, like trauma ward, which is where people would go if they got shot. And that's the exact place Russia blew up and then continued to kill civilians that would need to go to that trauma ward. You can kind of see the purpose of targeting the trauma ward then if you're going to target the specific thing that is designed to deal with the injuries that you're creating in Mykolaiv. But after we talked to them, while on the top of the hospital, we see anti-air missiles probably fall, I don't know, like about half a mile away from us. Like they make a cloud behind it and they start like hitting Ukrainian positions and anti-air fire starts like firing up. And it really took me aback because I didn't expect it to be that close. And I was like, oh, what's going on? What's going on? And I leave there. I head to a bar to like get some food, like a steak and some food in me. And while we're there, we find out that we're in the city of Mykolaiv during the launch of the Kherson counteroffensive. And the thing is, it was rumored for a while. I don't know if you remember this, Vaush, but they talked about it forever. Like, the Kherson counteroffensive's coming, it's coming, it's coming. And some people started to think, like, well, is it ever coming? They've been saying this for so long. And so I didn't really believe it when all my contacts were texting me, like, Dylan, you're in Mykolaiv. You are, like, well within range of artillery, well within range of everything. You're almost on the front line.
Skedaddle.
Like, be careful. Like, you need to make an aid delivery over there. I understand. We're making an aid delivery to, like, a dog shelter in the area. That takes care of injured dogs and dogs that have been abandoned by their family members and stuff. It actually got shelled before we got there. They missed it by like 300, 400 feet. Shrapnel hit the side of it. But we were like, well, that's actually, I filmed up 2 dog shelters, both of which have been shelled. One in Kramatorsk and one in Mykolaiv. The other one in Kramatorsk, which I shot at, the shell actually hit the dog center and it destroyed many of the dog houses. And it was pure luck none of the dogs got killed.
Jesus Christ!
I haven't released a
no
video
doubt
on the
deliberate
dogs yet.
strategy on the part of the evil Ruskies. to target the dogs and Ukrainian morale. Um,
Exactly. But
I
I
wa I
wanted to
wa I wanna
finish.
I wanna say really quickly, by the
Yeah.
way, that obviously I'm very glad that you skedaddled, or at the very least, you
Well,
know,
no, we didn't skedaddle. We did the exact opposite.
or at
We
the
went
very
and
least
delivered the
weren't
aid
hit.
anyway.
Yeah. And genuinely insane that you stayed there knowing full well there was a risk of that actually going forward.
Well, I mean, like, the thing is, right? We did get shelled. Like, we got shelled in the city center, right? The shell fell about 150 feet away from me. If it was any closer, it would have killed me. Piece of shrapnel, like, very, very close. Um, the thing is, though, uh, like, other people did die in those strikes. 2 died, 24 were injured. We got lucky. And the strikes were completely random in the city center. They were peppering the entire city center while they were there. We hear Russian jets like whoosh coming overhead the whole time, sirens blaring, the whole thing. But the first 3 shells didn't even have sirens because like they didn't know it was coming until it hit. And so like a lot of it is like a lot of it is like, of course, safety precautions and knowing where to be and what to do in those situations. But those first 3 shells were just pure luck, right? Complete luck. And the people who did die, they were civilians who just got unlucky, right?
Yeah.
And so like, there's only so much prep you could do. But what I was telling the story for, and then I'll come back to that like question about like risking and like, risking the life. But the reason I'm telling the story is during the next 2 nights when I was near the Zaporozhye nuclear power plant, when I was filming over there and we saw like explosions near it and stuff. I released a piece on that as well. That piece is called Living Near Ukraine's Next Chernobyl, and we filmed, and the night we slept near the city, we heard so much artillery bombardments. I heard 50 explosions in 30 seconds at one period, and that's when I knew like the Kherson counteroffensive was going to be like super super serious. It's because like they were laying down heavy fucking firepower, and it ended up being extremely serious. And they retook the only provincial capital the Russians took the entire war in Kherson, and what they uncovered there was, I don't know if you heard the story, but they were actually orphanages that had to hide children away from the orphanages in the homes of the people who run these orphanages because the Russians were trying to steal the orphans and
To bring them
deport
back to
them back to Russia
Yeah, there was a
to
whole
stop them from getting to like de-Ukrainize them or whatever.
that was that was what Brianna Joy Gray was talking about in one of the 78 recent times that she's been given a bunch of shit on social media, where she was like, what did she do? Did she deny that was like ethnic cleansing, or did she say it was
She
good? I
she
forget what
was
exactly she said.
Okay, so at the time, somebody brought it up to her in a debate, as like, see, isn't this something we should do work to stop? And she was like, no, because why isn't America doing like helping out everywhere? It was the essence of her argument. Then afterwards, she put like question marks over it, like the disputed claim that Russia's doing this when like we know that they're doing this. Like I don't even.
Yeah, this is why, and you said you weren't fulfilled hosting Twitch debate panels over how to say retard elegantly. And I feel like this is one of the things that's really made debate difficult for me as well lately, is that in the past couple of years, all the subjects that I want to debate on are ones that there is no debate on. Like, you'll talk with Russia Sims, and it'll be like, oh, Russia's not doing that. And then you'll take a look at official Russian state media saying, yes, we are doing that. Like you said about freezing them out. I have seen Russia defenders go like, no, they're doing this humanitarian. They're not trying to do indiscriminate strikes. And then you go on Russian state media, and they're like, yeah, fuck those Ukrainians. Yeah, we're fucking them up. Who cares?
They're like reposting images of them executing their prisoners with fucking sledgehammers. And then I don't know if you heard this. Then one of the fucking people that did that execution, the organization Wagner, one of the representatives, sent a sledgehammer with their logo on it to EU members, to EU representatives.
Yeah, no, and then no doubt all those people then went on social media and said, no, we didn't do that. It's really, really frustrating in what feels like a, I don't know, like a post-debate online discourse environment where it's kind of progressed to people like lying about the thing that they're doing at that moment visibly in front of you, and it doesn't. It's like there's no point, you know. I mean, you cover it as best as you can, and God, certainly you have. But I
I mean,
can
it's weird because like I'll
understand.
go there. Oh, sorry, continue. I didn't
No,
want mean to cut off Vaush.
I can understand why, this would provide you a lot more satisfaction than the aforementioned retard debating.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, this is I'm very happy about the type of work I'm doing, and I do enjoy it, even though, of course, it's weird. It's weird to say that out loud. that I enjoy my work when my work is like now it's becoming covering a war, but like I get fulfillment from it. I don't need to enjoy every aspect of it to like find some things in it that are joyful. To be able to share these stories, I do find a lot of
I don't think
personal
that's weird.
fulfillment in.
Doctors can enjoy their work. I mean, you could like, oh, you enjoy your work. The only reason a doctor has work is because people are sick and dying. Like nobody says that because everyone understands that what the doctor means is I enjoy being able to be on the good side of this bad thing, and that's what you're doing.
Yeah, that's true. But you were asking about like risking like the lives and like risking your life and stuff like that. I guess for me, like something that I've done, and this has really helped me, is the first thing I've done is accepted the fact that if I die, I most likely won't know that I died, right? Because let's say these things about these like the time when I'm most present and most thinking about my death was not actually when I was directly being shelled by the Russian army. It was when I got into like the vans afterward to like get away from the shelling. And the reason why is I don't know if you watch all these like videos online, but the majority of videos where you see people dying from this war, it's people blowing up in cars and armored vehicles and tanks and vans and transport. And the reason why is like these vans that were like transporting around it. I had the experience on the Zaporozhye front line, and I had this experience on in Mykolaiv. They're basically just moving coffins. They have no protection. They've got no steel plating. If they get hit, you're dead. Like you just, and he's not even gonna know you're dead. And if you do survive, you're gonna be so disfigured, then you're just fucked. So I'm just just hope to be dead. But the thing is about being in these cars versus being outside of them is when you're outside of them, you have better control of like your vision and your hearing, and like you can personally move and have an impact. And so you're very much thinking of like, what can I do right now to keep myself safe or to do something to help others? If you watch the footage of me being shelled, you see me like debating like, we need to get closer over there to like get filming. We need to go where they just hit. And then saying immediately, fuck, but they might double tap and then we'll get struck. But when you're in these vans and you're in these cars moving around, there's not much you can do to like improve your odds. So you're left there with your thoughts. And so you start thinking about like, I'm in a fucking moving coffin, right? And so something that I've done in those situations, which that was a big thing in Zaporozhye because it was the first time I was near the front line and I was surrounded by soldiers. I had full gear on. I didn't have full gear on Mykolaiv. And what I do is I think of the statistical probability. Like, well, odds are that the most likely not going to hit me because there's been a million people who've been through this direct street and only so many have died. So the odds are I'll probably live. That has helped me some. Of course, thinking if I do die, probably won't even know, help me some. And the last thing, and this is like the more like the bigger thing is, this is the most like soy Reddit thing I'm ever gonna do. You watch Cowboy Bebop, yeah?
Actually, no.
God, you what?
Nah, it's been on my list for a while. I tried watching it twice, and I dropped it both times, and I don't know why, because I liked it both times. I think it's because I tried watching it during a flight. Man, it's on the list. I probably know what you're going to be referring to anyway. It's too much cultural osmosis.
There's a scene near the end of it where Spike, the main fuck, I can't believe you haven't watched. I don't know if
I know who Spike is. I saw that much. Yeah.
This.
I saw at least 2 minutes into the first episode.
So there's a scene near the end where Spike is talking to the girl Faye or whatever her name is, and when he's talking to her, he's about to go into some thing that's like really dangerous, and she's like, "What are you gonna do? Just throw away your life?" And he says something along the lines in like the spirit of it, and this really connected with me. And it's weird to say like an anime connected with me in this way, but it was along the lines of like, if I do not live this way, then am I truly living? If I don't live personally in a way that I think is the like complete like is the end result or like the natural end goal or the natural end point of like what I think my political activism is, even if it endangers my life, then like, am I truly living my values? Am I truly living who I am if I'm not willing to do that? And if I would rather be living my life not only in a way I personally enjoy and find the most fulfillment in, but is most, I think, in line with what I believe ideologically. And I'm very, very, very supportive of Ukrainian democracy. So I almost feel like it's like I have to, in a way, to live my life the way I have to live it. To like, to not only to live it most truly free in fear and living free of letting fear control me. I let fear impact me, but I don't let it control me. And to allow me to like have the most impact politically that I need to have. And so for me, I feel like risking my life is part of living my life. If you don't put all the chips on the table, then like you haven't really gambled, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, well, that philosophy works great for you. I'm gonna stay on the computer actually, if it's all the same. I'm glad that I'm glad it works for you though. It'd be pretty difficult to get any kind of live coverage of on the ground military action if it weren't for people with a daring attitude towards covering that sort of thing. Seriously though, it is
Appreciate it.
if there's any like real message here, or any like resounding lesson that could be taken, it's that deep within the heart of every man, and non-man, I guess too, if you really want to be particular, is the possibility of de-soyifying yourself, right? You can
True.
go from being the Twitch streamer to the live war coverage reporter. You can be that guy.
But I'm
You're
still arguing with Chaos's Mel, so nothing's really changed
but
fundamentally.
that's it, right? Like it's yin and yang, right? You're like the envoy for the rest. You're the inspiration. You're the torch held forward.
Oh my
Um,
god. I'm
I
gonna
mean, it
start Twitch
genuinely is.
jihadism. It's gonna be great.
It is pretty crazy, though, right? I mean, you have to. I'm sure you get an earful of this from your friends and family. You know, people who know you better than I do. How insane what you're doing actually is. Um, so you don't need it repeated here, but it's still just absolutely wild. You know, we talked to Anna recently, whose full name I'm not going to attempt here so as to avoid embarrassing.
Anastasia.
Anastasia, thank you. To avoid embarrassing myself. And obviously she's doing some incredibly brave work herself, but there is kind of like this justifying mechanism there, right? Where it's like, okay, well, she lives there. You don't live there.
Nope.
No, which, it definitely gives you more of an excuse to skedaddle, if ever you wanted to take that.
Well,
But you want to go back
it's
in.
weird. It's yeah, I do. Oh, I'm going back in. If I don't go back in, I don't know what I'm even doing. I almost feel like I have to. It's very strange. I feel like I gotta be involved until we win the war. In a way, I feel like I have to. Then I'll go back to college. Then I'll continue doing politics, maybe, or maybe I'll just move on to another war because this is also I'm like each video I release on this is getting very better. Like the first one was just raw footage because I was like I had the philosophy originally going into this of just complete gonzo, no commentary. If you put commentary over it, you're biasing. You just need to show them the complete like unfiltered view. But I'm slowly like getting like, oh no, you can like add commentary and you can like guide people along. And
Just
the videos getting
every racial epithet directed against Russian people, just overlaid on top of the war footage, pure propaganda. Just
absolutely
yeah, crank that shit out. No pretense towards an unbiased coverage.
the Biden Banderite coalition is expanding.
Absolutely.
But yeah, like I'm more happy with the work I'm putting out. Like I got shelled by the Russian army is much closer to what I want to be putting out in the future. So like I think I don't know what I'm really gonna do after this, but I gotta stay with this till the end of the war. And I think part of the thing you brought up, like she didn't like choose this at all. I did choose this, which also means that like I talk a little bit like I try to talk less about like my personal struggles with the war or like my mental health issues with the war, which of course like I have those as well because like I chose to be there, right? Like I could leave at any time. These people can't leave. And so that's why I always try to emphasize when we talk about that, talk about this is like I chose to be there. A lot of people didn't. And so I think for them like I chose this, they didn't, and that's a choice I got to make that they didn't. And I think that is something that you do need to emphasize when we're talking about war journalism versus like the people who live there. Like
Yeah,
for
to
me,
an
this is
extent.
their
I don't think
village that
it's
exploded.
I
It's
don't
their village that exploded, not mine.
yeah, I don't think it's disrespectful to emphasize that though. I mean, everyone watching you can know that you could leave if you wanted to. The question isn't whether or not you're as trapped there as any of the villagers whose villages are getting blown up. Um, I mean, I guess there's like that implicit, oh, are you suggesting you have it as bad? But I think it's, speaking as someone who has no intentions of going anywhere near the front line, I do think it's fully interesting to hear that side of things from your perspective.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it a lot.
I
So
mean,
is there any well, sorry, you had something to
oh
say?
no, just there aren't that many of those perspectives, right? Not delivered towards an English-speaking audience. Obviously, plenty of Ukrainians speak English, but if somebody wants to get like info on what's going on in Ukraine as an English speaker, people are normally limited to like a collection of psychotic like national security like fan accounts and
That's
some
true.
journalists who are reporting from afar. in terms of people on the ground, there cannot be that many active English speakers presenting their content in English um, in Ukraine. At least
Well,
I haven't seen that many.
I guess like well for me I think the first thing that needs to be established is that the English speaking world is extremely important to Ukraine because the UK, America, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, these are all countries that support Ukraine, and America, especially in the UK as well, their support is extremely important to Ukraine. So I think it's really important to inform English speakers because if English speakers aren't informed, then they might be less willing to continue to support aid to Ukraine, which Americans still overwhelmingly support sending aid to Ukraine because most Americans, I would like to think, when they're not being lied to about weapons of mass destruction, are generally moral individuals. I would like to say. I know that's a wild thing to say, but I think overall Americans are generally okay. It's loud minorities that dominate us. So I think it's important to do this journalism. But the thing is, I think I met a lot of reporters while I was over there, but I mean they weren't everywhere, and there's a million stories to tell. And the thing is, and this is the way I always tell people, for every war crime you see, there's like 10 that you don't see. Right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
if you think about the scale of like the Holocaust, there will be so many war crimes that occurred during the Holocaust and the Second World War. They'll never be documented either A, because all the witnesses were killed, B, all the evidence destroyed, or C, the person who had testimony died before they could say it.
Not to
And
mention with the
yeah,
Holocaust, a lot of what we got was a deliberate effort from FDR and a bunch of others to go over and document everything. They didn't just incidentally get it while pushing back the German front lines. They basically sent over like an investigative battalion alongside the capture of tens of thousands of officers to get everything they had, and they still missed a lot. So yeah, no, just what we have now, which is just at the ebb and flow of the front lines being pushed back and forth, is a minuscule fraction of what there actually is.
absolutely. I mean, from my personal conversations with people, the stories I'm told by people who are like at Bucha about like, yeah, there was a friend of mine. I remember we were at Bucha and I recorded the video is publicly available. I think it's titled Exploring the Ruins of Bucha. Um, I talked to this old Ukrainian like babushka religious woman who walked out of the church when we went to visit the mass grave in Bucha and filmed there. And she tells us about, and the thing is we can't go certify this stuff. We can't go because a lot of this is like the evidence just isn't there, or there's so many people that need to be investigated for war crimes. There's so many things to investigate, you just can't investigate it all. That's why I think it's important for somebody for freelance journalism and war journalism, and for people to like go out and record this stuff. But like she tells us like stories about people like being shot in the back of the head just for speaking Ukrainian in the presence of Russian soldiers, or people who are or choir boys who were tortured in the basements of buildings trying to get information out of them about Ukrainian troop positions, or hey, you're really a child spy, the type of stuff you're told that I don't have the evidence for, but the testimony I hear. And it's like some of that might be not true, but a lot of it is true. We just don't have the evidence for it. And now all we have is the testimony. That's why when I go back, I'm going to try. And I did a few this time, or the first time, I'm getting my hands on this stuff. I'm trying to get used to it. I'm going to try to do a lot more sit down interviews with people. And I'm going to be releasing those as they try to talk about the testimony of what they experienced. Because a lot of that stuff, like there's never going to be any physical evidence for it, and all that exists is the testimony.
It also sells the best to a Western audience. Sell like in terms of presentation and interest. War footage has a pretty limited audience on account of it being pretty, grim by default.
Yeah.
Whereas, the human element tends to make people feel a lot more connected. I remember there was that video from who put out that video where they we went over it on stream. They went over a couple of interviews with Ukrainians. It was like a larger channel. They went in there and they met them in person. Channel 5.
Ah,
Channel 5. That's right. Channel
Channel
5.
5, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
He did it early on in Lviv. Yeah.
Yeah. Notably, very far from the front lines, unlike you, brave boy.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Now, if only if
way.
I can get Channel 5 viewership for doing stuff 10 times more expensive and 10 times more dangerous.
Yeah, you just
But I don't got the Andrew Callahan charm, buddy.
you
I don't
need
got
an
it.
incredibly fucked up looking guy with an afro following you around. And that friend of his, the one who wears the ski mask, you need a crew running around.
True. I need a crew
spooking
like
the
a
shit.
I do. I have some weird Polish friends of mine, like some weird Poles I can bring around with me. Who doesn't like the Polish?
Nobody's ever disliked a Pole.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Uh, you certainly deserve Channel 5 numbers.
Oh, I appreciate it. One day, one day. So, is there any other questions you want to talk about, or should I just like, do you want to stories or any questions that you have else? Like, I
No,
have.
well, the problem is, like, asking questions make me feel like I'm a fucking, info tourist or whatever, you know? Like your relatives come back from abroad, you know? What you do? Did you do this? You do that?
You
Which
can ask me. Hey. The better the questions, the better the thumbnail, buddy.
Yeah, fuck. Well, I'm bad at that because I don't normally. Um,
You're gonna ask me like, did you fuck anyone in a war zone? You're gonna fucking. I don't
I'm
care.
not gonna ask you any personal questions like that. Um, no, I mean, I guess. Okay, well, here's one. Closest you've gotten to your knowledge to Russian troops. Have you ever gotten within eyesight in any of them, or heard any of them, or like you knew they were within a mile or two? Like, how close have you
They've
gotten?
1 mile. When I was in the first video I released on the ground is an unironically like if you know what's going on in that video, there are like a million red fucking flags in that video where like we're just standing within like 5 to 10 feet of an unexploded Russian musician just filming it like our foot like 5 ways like 5 feet from it. Like you hear shelling in the background constantly. We get followed by a Russian drone and we run into the forest to run away from it. Artillery starts to crawl in our direction. We get in the van, run away. The van breaks down as the drone is like circling overhead, runs away. There's like a million red flags in it. But we did end up, after all of that day, actually getting 1 mile from the Russians on the front. And they showed us all the positions. They showed us the dugouts. They showed us where the Russian position is. We could see the Russian tree line. We could see where the Russians like were. Like if they point that way, we know they're at that tree line. We didn't see individual bodies, but we saw where they were, and we knew they knew where we were, and we knew that they had tried to like maybe kill us with a drone earlier that day. And they
Yeah,
did shell the position when we are going to it. So they
yeah.
like we got lucky that day.
1 mile is definitely within earshot and eyesight. Jesus. When you get back there, or when you intend on heading back over there, um, do you know what city are you hitting up first? I assume that like you don't want to travel too much between different areas, because time spent on the road traveling is time you're not like actively digging
What do you
into
mean?
something at it. Because the more time you spend like traveling between cities, I imagine that cuts into the time you spend like with war footage or interviewing people or whatever, right? I know Ukraine's a pretty big country, right? Like you could lose a day traveling between two cities easily.
Oh yeah, well the thing is for me is I need to stream while also covering a war to pay my bills, right?
Hmm.
So the dynamic I have is insane. Where like I'll go like we'll like do a day and if I get back to the city in time, I'll start up a stream and be like, "Hey everybody, I just got back. Yeah, we got shelled a few times. Anyway," and then I just do the day stream, right? Like that is something I'm doing that is probably not like the most effective for like rest and recover. But I also need to pay my bills at the end of the day, and I am a streamer. That's how I make my money. And if anybody wants to help me pay my bills and make that a lot easier, you can go to Dylan Burns TV on Patreon and support me there, of course. But
Of
yeah,
course.
it's really weird because the streaming and being a streamer and a war zone is very strange. Definitely when you have to get closer to violence. You basically just have to like skip a week streaming to do a lot of this stuff, which is difficult when you're trying to pay the bills.
Yeah, especially if you're streaming on Twitch because they have
Yep.
such, yeah. Do you
I
have
can't stream a lot of the war stuff.
a
Like I feel
YouTube
like I can stream a
stream?
lot more of it. I have a second channel called Dylan Burns Live, DYLANBURNSLIVE, where I do 2 daily uploads, and that's also where I probably stream if I streamed on YouTube. And of course the main channel, which I'm trying to make my more like artsy, like here's all my Ukraine content and war footage channel. That second channel is where I'd probably stream. It's also where I can get my live stream content. But like, no, I don't really stream on YouTube much because, dude, it's scary, man.
You mean in terms of like accidentally tripping some content flag shit?
It's not. It's maybe that, but I think I'm more scared of just like the jump from Twitch to YouTube. Like I don't know if I could do it successfully.
Maybe. Wait,
Um,
didn't Twitch recently take Twitch exclusivity out of their contract for partners?
that is true, but I guess I can do some streams on YouTube. I just can't make the big jump. I can't do what you've done and what other people have done. I don't think at this point.
I
But
would have
I
stayed on both platforms if I could have. Now, of course, I'm more cemented, but you know, YouTube is definitely a lot more. a lot more permissive when it comes to that kind of thing, which, you know, is
Definitely the stuff I'm doing. It's just
yeah.
first I have the website now, dylanburns.tv.
Mhm.
So I think that's like the first step for me ever making this transition. If one day I get banned on Twitch and I know people are mass reporting me, I know Russian hackers have tried to like get into my accounts and shit.
Mhm.
Especially Discord. And like Discord will tell me this shit too. Like yeah, someone tried to hack into your account from Russia. I was like, "Oh, okay." Um like I'm worried that it's like a ticking time bomb before like I show a war clip on Twitch and somebody gets me banned. That does scare me. Because at that point it's just like if I'm in a war zone and I just lost my job, like there's a certain amount of like instability I'm willing to deal with. Getting shot out's one thing, but getting shot at and being unemployed is another. Because now it's like, damn, what am I even getting shot at for? You know?
Yeah, it's you need that as a legitimizing force, if nothing else. Um, well, if anything, you know, I imagine it's not a sure shot, but I do hope that Twitch would give you some leeway on this, given the moral righteousness of what you're doing. I know that they're not, the corporations don't tend to make decisions based on stuff like that, but I think optically it would be quite bad for them if it was like, yeah, we had like a streamer who was doing on the ground like live reporting in defense of Ukraine, the country that America is aligned with in terms of its military support. Oh yeah, but you know, they got attacked, so we banned them. You know, like, oh, well,
That
now
would be
you have
like somebody
shrapnel in
gets
your leg. Yeah,
swatted and they get shot while getting swatted, and then Twitch is like, damn, that sucks. No violence banned.
exactly, exactly. Which I think they tend to be a bit more lenient in cases like that, but I don't know. They're so inconsistent.
Honestly, YouTube has been worse for it. I've gotten more in trouble with YouTube for this type of stuff than Twitch. My second channel, actually, I did a video on the Kanye Alex Jones stuff because again, that's like that's shit's content gold. I mean, it's terrible, it's awful. But from a perspective of a streamer, oh my god, you get what I'm saying, right?
Yeah,
Like
absolutely.
holy shit, fucking one of the most popular rap stars in the world dresses up like fucking King Cobra, goes on the fucking Alex Jones podcast. It just says, "What Holocaust? I don't know what you're talking about." As Alex Jones starts getting intimidated by him slowly, ever so slowly. It was like a South Park skit, and so I covered the whole thing and uploaded my second channel, and it got taken down after a day. I was, and I know people like the thing is you get mass reported. I know I get mass reported. Destiny know he gets mass reported. Every major creator knows they get mass reported. The more you talk about it, the more attention is going to drag to it, and the more people are going to mass report you. You can't really do anything about it.
Yeah, there's not YouTube is just too big. There's not really any unless a person has like a real content manager who can do behind the scenes work when it comes to strike management. There's very little you can actually do there, unfortunately.
Yeah, it just fucking sucks because like before when I was with Hippy Dippy, like it was fucking good days, man. It was good times. But now like it's just like if I lose one like big video and it was 4.5 hours, I watched like everything, right? Like that's like actually losing like a paycheck. It's like, oh, that fucking sucks. And so I don't know, man. YouTube and Twitch. I don't like the trend of all these big tech companies basically cutting staff for less content moderation, just betting it all on AI, man. I think the real path needs to be hiring more staff for these companies.
Yeah, I mean, it's really difficult to judge from not behind the scenes because I'm sure that back there are a ton of complexities that I couldn't even begin to fathom. But it does seem like there are some like obviously unworkable problems that they're just not committing enough to, you know? I don't know how much of it is like them wanting to cost save or how much they lose on server costs relative to wages paid, but obviously if things get unstable enough for larger creators, it causes a fuss for the platform. So there's kind of like an internal pressure pushing that out, but you and I aren't large enough to like take that kind of notice, which sucks.
Oh, well, yeah, true.
I mean, hopefully, you know, God willing. It's just the system is, you know, ever more unfair if you're not large enough for a stir from you to actually be like recognized site wide. If Markiplier gets a video strike, you know, then we'll got to
True.
ride the.
Markiplier should come to Ukraine with me.
True, that would be incredible
Dude,
content.
I have offered to so many people the Ukraine, like, hey, look, come here. I can have you interview locals. It'll be like, da da da. It's so many people have shown interest. Nobody ever ends up doing it, ever.
Yeah, you know why? Have you considered? It's a little scary, actually.
Ah,
You know, you've committed to it. I will not. I'll not blame other people for having not thrown their weight behind the wartime vacation zone.
hey, look, okay. There's a lot of things scarier than going to a war zone. Okay, watching your debate with Michael Tracy, Talking to Chaos's Mel,
Do you
the
see that?
transition from Twitch to YouTube. I did, and I talked to Michael Tracy.
Oh yeah, wait, no, I popped in on
I
that.
debated him.
I think I hosted you at the very tail end of that, or at least I was going to. No, I think I
Maybe
did.
I got him to commit to not wanting to send aid to Ukraine because before he wouldn't say whether he even supported it or not.
Yeah,
I think I did very well, but I was very, very patient.
the best case scenario is that after 2 hours, you might get him to state one prescriptive position. And that is literally the most you can hope for when talking to him, outside of just making fun of him, which is what I settled on about 15 minutes in, because like Jesus Christ, whatever. I know what he believes. He knows what he believes. Everyone watching knows what he believes. Past the point, it's just really boring trying to like tease it out of him.
Absolutely, absolutely. The thing is about the conversation that was it was he talks a lot. He talks a lot, and it's not only does he have the gift of gab, but it's also like I think a lot of times he just kind of like rambles off. And I'm not saying that he was never saying anything of substance. It's
I'll
just
say
like
that.
he'll just get
No,
he'll
he does.
just get
No, he does that on purpose. 100% he does. He will get actively offended if you ask him to just answer a question.
well,
It's a very deliberate strategy on his part. I think that
well
he's a neo-Nazi, personally. Man's taken a
okay. Wait, a
strong intro.
neo-Nazi? Really?
Or maybe like a regular Nazi. Maybe it's not that neo. Yeah, he spent a lot of time engaging in like weird roundabout defenses of Russia that I haven't seen since browsing like crypto Nazi forums and shit. The whole like actually America started the war with Nazi Germany and actually, our involvement ended up worsening things. These are like very like far left field esoteric conspiracies that I've only ever seen promoted by Nazis. I think it's just like you know that if you want to defend Putin, comparisons to Hitler will come up, and if you see the writing on the wall there, you might as well just go about defending Hitler as well, and you'll do it the same way you defend Putin, right? Not by saying he's good, but rather by like throwing 80 million caltrops onto the debate field when it comes to discussing literally any empirical like bad thing that they've done, which is what Nazis do with Hitler, right? Like they don't say, "Oh yeah, the Holocaust was good." Instead, they say, "Ah, well, wooden doors. Hey, look at this photo. Isn't this weird?" Like that kind of stuff. It's caltrops. Um, so yeah, I've seen that a lot, usually from people in that disposition. He might also just believe nothing, and he just leans into the Nazi
Well,
conspiracism because it's aligning with his values. I'm not sure.
I guess I got two things for that. I think the first thing is in my conversation with him, it wasn't that he never said anything of substance, is that he would make a critique or he would say something that's true. He would say something that's like that might be like an interesting fact in isolation. But then I would like to okay, what do we take from that, right? What do we espouse from that position, right? What do we take from what you just said? What do you mean by that? What are you indicating? Do you indicating that therefore we shouldn't send aid? Or are you indicating this? Because my response to this is this. And he would be like, no, that's just like a fact, maybe we should make note of, and then we move on. So there's like he's just saying things with no like prescriptive like
Yeah, well,
explanation
that's
of the
exactly
world.
what they like to do,
It-
right? It's like,
it-
oh, I'm not denying the Holocaust. I'm just saying, don't you think it's weird that
well,
if you look at it,
but that's the second thing. I don't think he's a neo-Nazi or a Nazi in any way, Vaush. I think the best way to describe Michael Tracy would be, I think he's kind of a contrarian. I think basically, like, if he sees a kind of like a mainstream position, I think he ultimately is like, I don't trust this mainstream media nonsense. I'm gonna go look at all the facts, and then that type of like mindset. Sometimes leads to people being just contrarians in every issue because mainstream media says this, so I got to say the other thing, right? I feel like he falls into contrarian rabbit hole quite a lot. And like once he's in it, it's kind of hard to get out. You just start digging like a deeper and deeper hole. And I think that's what happened with like the back and forth he had about like the start of the Second World War and the Holocaust. I think that's a much easier explanation than finding out he's like a secret neo-Nazi.
I don't know if it's that secret. I don't want to tussle with you about it, but what I find
Yeah,
often these
prove to me. Give me the documents, Vosh.
sure,
Prove
fine.
that he was Joseph Mengele and he collaborated.
If contrarianism consistently leads people down the exact same ideological line over and over and over again, it's not actually contrarianism. They're just only comfortable phrasing their positions in a way that challenges the mainstream narrative without committing to a prescriptive defense of the narrative they actually have. It's the same as like the contrarians with like COVID denialism. Because a real contrarian wouldn't just go and immediately adopt every single hegemonic conservative talking point as a framework of skepticism against the CDC's talking points. They would be broadly contrarian. In reality, all the people who said they were contrarian about vaccines were actually just anti-vax. There were actually very few people who were contrarian, who were like rejecting the conservative mantra on the subject, but also distrustful of the CDC. In reality, these people were all just like towing the conservative line. So I tend not to believe that like contrarian line too much. I don't know how many people are motivated by true
Well, I think
contrarianism as opposed to just like being too dishonest to actually adopt the position they believe in.
I think it would be much easier though if, like, even let's say we didn't call him a contrarian, we say he's anti something. I think it would be like anti-America or anti-globalism or anti-establishment or
Hey,
anti
the
the
Nazis were
international world order.
anti-globalism.
Well, yeah, the Nazis were, but so are a lot of non-Nazis. There's a lot of weird populist types that aren't Nazis, even though they're like hardcore populists, right? Like Huey Long was somebody who was very anti-establishment, very populist. He was somebody who was also extremely fucking corrupt, but he also was not a Nazi. He actually had quite displeasure for the Nazis and their belief systems. So I do think it is possible that Michael Tracy is not a secret card-carrying Klan member, neo-Nazi, Hitler,
Oh,
Joseph
hold on,
Mengele
hold on.
supporter.
I'm not saying secret card carrying, blah blah blah. I'm just saying he lies about his positions, which you know he does. You've seen him lie all the time. Doesn't
Well, I
have.
think
It's not a
it's
secret
he never
conspiracy.
lies. He just never answers.
No, he lies. He misrepresents what he said in tweets before. He'll object. He'll like empirically lie about stuff, right? When I talked with him, it wasn't just him taking forever to get to answers. He would ask a question or make a position. I would counter it, provide empirical evidence to that counter, and then like 2 minutes later, he would respond in a way that ignored what I said and continued with the line. I don't believe I my the whole like don't attribute to malice what could be equally attributed to incompetence or whatever. I believe that less and less these days when it comes to conservatives. It's or at least their incompetence just seems to really reliably lead them down the exact same line of propaganda. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Also, I did pressure him on if you bullied him, Vaush. I pressured him, and if you were a
If I
cyberbully to
bullied
him,
him?
if you were a bully when you said his name so
Oh,
much,
well, I was trying to. I hope he felt that way.
he did not. He said you weren't a cyberbully, but he said you acted. I said you acted with to him. I told him you acted with disdain in his direction. Disdain.
Yeah, I hate him. I hate cowardice. So it's inimical to debate. You know, they can't actually say anything, and it takes time. And I will one day die, and at some point, I'm going to be counting my hours. And oh, I spent 2 hours of my finite life trying to get Michael Tracy to commit to a position he's expressed 87 times on Twitter. You know, whew. Um, just a crime against me personally.
Yo, don't you think it's interesting the Kanye West stuff when it comes to the Russia-Ukraine war? It's so weird that all of the international far right and neo-Nazi organizations that we know of, and now the richest neo-Nazi on the planet, Kanye West, seem to support Russia, even though Russia supposedly is participating in a denazification operation. Vosh, I say this because I'm starting to think that possibly, quite possibly, Russia could be hypocritical on this issue.
This is what I mean about the worthlessness of debate on these subjects, you know? Because this entire time I've argued with the lefties, right? Or so-called lefties, you know, at the, critical support, decolonization, Russia's defending itself, blah, blah. And meanwhile, all of the Nazis in America are like, yeah, we're fully pro-Ukraine. All the Nazis are. The entire far right is completely behind Russia. Or sorry, yeah, they're all behind Russia. Like all of
Yeah,
them.
you slipped for a second. Your Ukraine Zelensky programming chip
Sorry, the
slipped out
Banderites.
for a second.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
Banderites pulled me
The
down.
Banderite radio waves. You know how they have the CIA has a radio wave gun? The Ukrainians have a Banderite outside your window with the Banderite gun.
The
And
only
it ran out of
Nazis,
batteries.
the only Nazis that defend Ukraine are the Ukrainian Nazis, and they do it out of nationalism, not out of line of their like ideological biases outside of that, you know? In terms of like what Nazis want, Russia represents all of their positions far better than Ukraine. Ukraine being a liberal democracy led by a Jew, and Russia being a far-right autocracy led by the guy who funds other far-right
Hey, look,
autocracies.
I am positive that the leader of a neo-Nazi state would institute non-discrimination protections for trans people. That's actually the first thing Hitler did when he got into office. He instituted non-discrimination protections for trans people. That was the
Yeah,
first
well,
step.
Hitler was famously a chaser, of course, so he had to
Yes,
protect
he was
his.
famous. He was scrolling every femboy subreddit, and he was really problematic about the word trap too.
Oh,
That
what?
was
Yeah.
Hitler was kind of problematic.
When the anime meme sub had that schism over the word trap, you know, Hitler came down hard on that. He was posting through the whole thing on Twitter.
Oh yeah, he was mega posting. I think he just got unbanned too.
Shit. Yeah, they're going from most transphobic to least transphobic in terms of the unbans. Kanye first, then Hitler.
Then Destiny.
Then Destiny, yes,
Then
naturally.
Destiny. Naturally.
but just narrow,
Just
um,
narrowly.
neck and neck with Hitler. Yeah, no, it's literally like the far right in every country on earth supports Russia. There's just no reason for them not to, considering Russia's so much closer to
I
Nazi
mean,
values than Ukraine is. But
Alexander Dugin, a lot of people overplay how much influence he has, right? I'm gonna be for real. But there is one thing about Alexander Dugin where he had influence, not only in some of the realm of foreign policy, but he wrote a book called The Foundations of Geopolitics. I don't know if you've read it or you know anything about it,
I've actually
but
read a couple of excerpts from it.
it's pretty fucking insane. In this book, it advocates for a lot of things, like splitting up China and annexing large swaths of it, and Kazakhstan, and Finland, and Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Ukraine, like annexing tons of territory. But also in it, it advocates a policy of hyping up the American far right, making it like really, really like funding like racist shit, under the idea that eventually, like racial issues in the United States
As a
could
way
get
of
so
promoting
terrible,
internal discord.
disorder, which then they could take advantage of through America becoming less powerful because of its internal problems. Like that is taught in Russian military academies. That's part of the required reading to become like for Russian officers. Now, I'm not saying that that is necessarily the exact strategy that Russia is using, but it like to be honest, like they have funded the Internet Research Agency with spreaded most far right and far left misinformation. They would hype up like groups on Facebook and stuff that were like pushing BLM stuff as well as like far right Nazi stuff. Not to equate the two, but to say that they were trying to hype up both sides for a confrontation because they want that. They want disorder in the United States. And so there is a benefit that Putin's government and the Russians see from having the far right take over, not only because they agree ideologically, but also that shift would cause chaos, and that chaos could be taken advantage of.
Yeah, no, and it sounds, it's working. It works. Um, it's yeah, well, I guess more ammunition to the point that the only way liberal democracy globally can survive, and anything better than liberal democracy, if we ever get to that point, will be through the complete destruction of the Kremlin as a political institution. When people talk about Dugin's influence, it's not like a day-to-day thing, right? But that book has been like the template for Russian action the past couple of decades, at least for Putin's administration. And yeah, again, it comes down to the debate thing. This bothers me, when I keep coming back to it, because I like to remember when I started the channel just 3.5 years ago, a lot of the debates that I had back then were with people who, while retarded, had actual positions that they would defend, Conservatives that I would debate would have positions on economics. I would argue with them over whether or not Trump's tax cuts would have good or bad effects on the working class, about whether or not jobs could be brought back. Now, there are no prominent conservatives who will debate anymore, and there are no positions they would be willing to debate, even if I could have them on, because there's nothing left to these positions, right? All conservative positions held require a deliberate willingness to ignore reality. Oh yeah, Russia is actually anti-colonial and Ukraine is Nazis. Well, only if you're willing to ignore everything. Um, it's very, very frustrating, Like what more is to be said, right? It's blatant anti-empiricism. It
Also,
goes
the
beyond
only reason
anti-intellectualism.
Russia not only engaged in colonialism, but usually when people bring this up, they talk about Africa. That's only because they failed in doing colonialism in Africa. That isn't because they didn't want to. They actually tried to do something in Djibouti. They just failed. And they've done colonialism in many, many, many other places. But when it comes to that book that you're talking about, it's hard to say if the Russian government has used it as a basis for their actions, because the things that they list in that book, the government has absolutely done some of those things. But the problem is, those things would also probably, that Putin has done, would probably be the general same path any hardcore far-right Russian nationalists would take in Putin's shoes. So it's hard to say if they're just doing what any far-right nationalist would do, or if they're following the tenets of the book. It's kind of hard to say. But the same spirit of the book, it's still there. Is there anything else you wanted to ask me? Anything else you wanted to hit on, Mr. V-Man?
Yeah, I defer to you. What do you want to share?
What do I want to share? I don't know. I have so many stories. You know what? I could talk about a video that I've almost finished the script for. I have all the footage for. I could talk about that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, please.
So, I was sitting in a bar in Lviv, probably, I don't know, maybe 4 months ago. And I was talking with my friend Patrick Hillsman, who's a reporter who, covered the civil war in Syria. he was there with me, and two aid workers who I cannot disclose who they were. And we were there to discuss a delivery of an aid shipment. But this wasn't like, bandages or anything. This actually was Elon Musk's Starlink, the new chief twit of Twitter.
Right.
And we were discussing how it needed to be delivered to the front line area around the Donbass to Ukrainian forces in the area. And after some talk and, me helping pay with the gas and stuff, the aid workers actually agreed to take the camera and film their delivery process of Elon Musk's Starlink. And so what I'm doing right now is I'm working on a big piece where I talk about the benefits of Starlink and the downsides of Starlink, because there are a lot of benefits of Starlink. I understand that a lot of people kind of see Starlink as like another pet project of like the rich, kind of full of himself billionaire, richest man in the world, Elon Musk. But Starlink does use low orbit satellites, which supposedly, as long as the congestion is not too high, should mean they should have generally faster speeds. All you need is one of their, their antennas, which are generally the size of a pizza box, and a clear view of the sky, and you should supposedly have internet. It's really easy to ship around and really easy to use. You can operate it off of your phone. And there's currently like 25,000 units operating in Ukraine. And these things have been used to operate drones. These things have been used to operate tons of equipment and communication, help with reestablishing communication in Kherson because all the infrastructure was destroyed and gutted by the Russians. And so it's been extremely helpful. But the problem is that Elon Musk's position on Ukraine is absolutely fucking asinine.
And Putin-esque, one might say.
It is Putin-esque. And there was even a report from one reporter, this is something that Elon denied, that he actually had a call with Putin.
No, I fully believe that. 100% I believe that. You know why?
Why do you believe it?
Because I think he referred to like some kind of political autonomy given to Ukraine as Khrushchev's mistake. No Westerner would ever refer to something like that as Khrushchev's mistake. Only a Russian would. I bet that term was given to him or described to him by Putin, and then he just aped it because he's stupid and didn't realize that it wouldn't be like a normal smart guy thing to say.
You know what else was weird? He mentioned in the replies as to like why we should have a vote in these areas that Russia's invaded. Another vote after their fraudulent vote is because these areas voted for Yanukovych in 2012 elections. And I'm looking at this when he posted this, and number one, why the fuck does he know about the 2012 Ukrainian elections? And number two, why does he think that this proves that there needs to be a referendum on joining Russia in these areas after the fraudulent one? Just because you voted for Yanukovych does not mean you support joining Russia. If I supported a party that was sympathetic to Canada, that doesn't mean that I want to be Canadian, eh?
Yeah, the funny thing is that really reaffirms the narrative that Yanukovych was a Russian puppet leader. The idea that like, oh, well, voting for him implicitly means, nah. In reality, right, like when Ukrainian independence was on the table, like you have voting proportions for every district, and the only one that hit 50-50 in terms of whether they wanted to be independent was Crimea, and every other area, including areas of the Donbass, were at least like 75-25 in favor of independence.
Absolutely, and there's no polling data that can dispute that. And the thing is, like, fuck, man. I really don't know what the future of Starlink is, because there's been reports of like communication outages and what was like 6% of these like Starlinks because of a lack of pay, and like Elon wanted to get paid for this. But I also want to make clear, like, Elon hasn't been paying for all of Starlink. It's been paid largely by the United States, the UK, Ukraine,
everything
like individual donors.
Mm-hmm.
Like, not every now a portion of it is donated, but the idea that like they've been paying all the way is not true. They haven't been paying all the way. Other actors have been paying as well. So like the question is, and like people can go watch the video to see like me tie it all together and show footage, incredible footage of like these reporters like actually like covering their car in mud, because if it shines too much, it'll be like a bigger target for the Russians. I have some interesting background footage as I talk about this issue. But the main thing I want to get at with this is that Elon Musk is very, very influential in a lot of areas. And I know people are really distracted with Twitter right now, but he's also talking about actively cutting off Starlink if it's used in areas in Crimea. He's talking about using his influence as a billionaire to affect whether or not Ukraine can win the war in this way when they already have the ability, and he'll literally say, no, you cannot go further than here. Like
Yeah.
that is a tremendous amount for one human being through their wealth to influence. And it's a good thing. A good thing that he got and donated this stuff to you and helped Ukraine this way. Not all of it, because a lot of it was paid for. Even if like prices for Starlink just doubled in Ukraine and they increased the subscription fee, even with all that, like it's still a good thing that he did. But that good thing was not done under the auspices of like Elon Musk is now going to control Ukrainian foreign policy to
Yeah,
some
I love
degree.
how the government is like multiple governments can contribute the finances necessary to maintain a private humanitarian expedition, but ultimately control still resides in that one private guy who can then just recede it at will. It's so obviously like Elon Musk, much like Donald Trump, just wants good boy PogChamp applause from audiences. So he thought he could be a superhero by giving Starlink. And then, like, he got talked to by a bunch of far right people in Putin. And he was like, oh, wait, actually, hold on. Wait. I actually have strongly held ideological convictions that tell me that we shouldn't, use it past this point. It's like the heel turn from him was insanely quick. And I fucking knew it would happen too.
Dude, I talk about it in the video. He had somebody put up. The city government of Odessa put up a billboard with his face on it, and they actually, after he started making these posts, they actually tore down the fucking billboard. They tore it down. No more. They had to
Nice.
tear it down because they're like, it said "Thank you, Elon," and they got rid of it immediately. Like, never mind. And they had like a Ukrainian ambassadors responding to him like, "Fuck you, motherfucker!" Like, really, like just going off on him. They were not happy when he started making those comments about Crimea. Like, the thing is, like, now it's like now that Ukraine is heavily reliant on the structure. Now it's when he's like, okay, now let's change exactly when and where you're allowed to go this far in the war and not go this far in the war. Like, come on, like you should have made these kind of like statements clearer earlier on in the war if you're gonna like make them reliant on you.
Yeah, well, that would have required him to go in with a plan other than the PogChamp applause, followed by being told by Putin not to.
Like, and I want to
Um,
be fair though. Like, he deserves credit. Like, he's doing a good thing. Starlink's been very helpful. Like, I've seen it like firsthand be used by these people. I know a lot of people right now who are relying on Starlink. It's very helpful. But like, we cannot be playing like jump rope with this lifeline for Ukrainians, which is used by like hospital staff all the way down to soldiers, all the way down to random grandmas in the middle of nowhere who that's the only way they can contact their family while they live in a war zone. And so like I just want to make sure that no matter what, even if it requires the diversification of Ukraine's internet infrastructure, any of these things, that like people concentrate on making sure that the service either stays or if it's going to fade out with time, it be replaced. We cannot have more outages like we had a few months ago.
God willing, they're able to nationalize it sometime soon.
Well, it's interesting because like Starlink has their own system of satellites. So it would be very difficult for I think like Ukraine to develop their own system like at this rate.
No,
So
no, no, no,
they
no.
have
I
to be
mean,
reliant on
I
something.
mean, nationalize it, not replace it.
Oh, so they just take the antenna. How are they gonna take the satellites? How are they gonna make them service the
I
antennas?
mean, we broadly,
Oh, we
if
just like hold a gun to their head.
well, hold on. Nationalization is a time-honored and well-tested strategy of keeping irresponsible billionaires from completely controlling the public life.
How about
Not
how about we
likely to
just give
happen, I
Ukraine
admit.
NASA?
But it
Let's
would be.
give Ukraine NASA. How about that? And they can
Um,
use NASA satellites.
that's fine by me. Yeah, I'd go for it. NASA is my favorite Nazi employing organization. Oh, have you met anyone from Azov while out there?
Probably. I didn't. I mean, I saw Azov symbologies everywhere because people see them as like the heroes of Mariupol. You know,
Mhm.
they're like they've become very big since that. But nobody cares about them or politics. They just care that they're good soldiers. Like the political party of Azov is like a complete failure. I have seen one person I know for sure is a Nazi. Second person I suspect is a Nazi. Um, and that one person I know is a Nazi was a right sector guy. He had the right sector tattoo on his neck. Those guys scare the fuck out of me. They scare me more than the average Azov guy. Because it's like white nationalist prison culture stuff,
They're so
which
cucked,
is
dude.
like he had the tattoo on his neck, and he just looked like a German soldier. It almost looked like he just dressed up like a German soldier. Like he had like it looked like an old German World War II hat. He had like an SS symbol. Like he had the SS, like the SS markings on his medical bag. Like he was just like straight up
Mixed
like,
message.
yeah, yeah. Who knows who what this guy believes? He didn't really talk at all to me or anything, but he was just there. He was just there.
Yeah,
He gave me a Snickers bar, which I was
full,
like I
full
was
of
in the
Hitler
forest, and
particles.
yeah, he gave me a Snickers bar, and I didn't see I didn't see the fucking thing on his bag and the hat. I was just like, oh, a Snickers bar, because I was distracted with the war. And then afterwards, I was looking at the footage, and I was like, wait a minute, wait a minute, was that a racist Snickers bar? Am I racist now? And ever since then, I've had to fight racist Snickers.
That is incredibly funny. Yeah, I know. I know the Azov shit is like like you have some neo Nazis who run a local militia, and not all the people in it are themselves neo Nazis. Just a lot of them. And at this point now, they're basically just more cannon fodder into the interminable conflict. Ukraine needs all the soldiers they can get. The funny thing is that like despite the Azov guys' efforts to get noticed, because like every time there's like a picture of Ukrainian soldiers, somebody has a fucking Black Sun or SS or whatever on them, because the Azov guys are always trying to muscle in on the cameras to rep themselves. But in spite of all that, like Ukraine is like the least Hitlerized fucking country in the West right now in terms of actual political power. You
Yeah,
go west
they
of
don't
there,
have
like
any political influence. They
yeah,
have a
yeah,
lot of us. They have, wait. This is the best way I like to put it. I think this is how it was put, generally speaking, to me by an Arab Ukrainian that I know.
Mhm.
Very cool guy. He actually designed my logo, my new channel logo. I'm trying to hire as much Ukrainian labor in all my efforts as possible.
Oh,
He described to me like the fascists have no political power really. They have extreme amounts of aesthetic power.
yeah, they're like goofy mascots over there, as opposed to the United States, where we don't have very many people in overt Nazi imagery, like relatively, but one half of our political electorate is open allies to people who dress up in fatigues and like seek Heil outside of drag shows. So it's really like an aesthetic over reality like line.
Yeah. I think a lot of it is like a lot of it will just be like these are the guys who fought Russia, so I'm gonna do it. Like I'm gonna wear this. A lot of them are just like legit neo Nazis, like the people who wear that shit. But a lot of it is just like weird aesthetic fucking fascism, and I don't understand it. I it feels a little bit like when I don't know how to describe it. Almost like I really don't know how to describe it. I think a lot of it is just dumb, ignorant people who just don't know like the history of these symbols. But but there's never an excuse to be wearing these symbols, even if it's done out of ignorance. And there still are legit Nazis, and like I don't think we should downplay it. But like overall, there's still like what 0.2 to 3%
Well, yeah,
of
no,
the
like you said,
military.
it's like image over substance. The neo Nazis in Ukraine make an active effort to overrepresent themselves, probably to compensate for the fact that they're giga cucked right now, because they're fighting for a Jewish-controlled liberal democracy against a fascist empire, and they're dying to do it as well. So like the cope that they get is like flashing their lightning bolts to the cameras that show up. And there are probably people who like sort of fall in with that without actually like believing in the ideology, kind of the way that a lot of prison gangs have white supremacist imagery, but not every individual member of them is white supremacist. And in terms of political power, like you said, they're totally emaciated compared to like even countries like
You
France or
know,
whatever.
you know what I compare. You know what Azov most reminds me of in its current state.
What?
Reminds me of Marie Le Pen's kind of political party, a little bit.
Well, much less powerful in terms of like
Yeah,
influence
no, not
relative.
I'm not an influence, but when it comes to like its ideology, the history of Marine Le Pen's political party. It's just like literally has neo-Nazi
Yeah,
roots.
yeah, yeah.
Like a lot of
Her like
political
dad
parties in like
or
Europe,
granddad. Yeah.
Have like neo-Nazi roots, and then it like slowly dilutes their values. They're still like, fuck, what the fuck's wrong with you? I'm never gonna join your party. Oh my god. But it's not the same as the origin. It still has made changes, or they had to adapt to it, be able to appeal to some like normality, and that's what it feels like some of the like transformations Azov went through. I think a big change was the like banning of like foreign fighters with Azov when they had to like integrate it and stuff like that. That you had to be a citizen to be part of Azov. That was like a big thing because it like stopped like international white nationalists using it to like train and stuff like that. But like it still has like a far right problem, and that's not something anybody can deny.
Yeah. Well, happy to see
But and let me
the
tell you, when you talk to Anna about this, she's gonna be passionate.
right, pro Banderite Anna, right?
She's not Banderite. It's just like fuck it. She has the belief about this like most Ukrainians do, which like these people are our heroes. They're here dying. They're here suffering. Nobody else is doing it for us. They did it when nobody else would. That's
Look,
that's the view.
I'm okay with neo-Nazis dying for a good cause. In fact, that's the best thing they could possibly be doing.
You say
Uh,
it's gonna piss her off?
What?
Good luck
What?
with
I
that, man.
agree. I fully agree with the premise
Because you're
here.
calling them neo-Nazis, and that's something that really pisses her off.
Well, there are certainly neo-Nazis in the Azov battalion.
Absolutely, there absolutely are. There absolutely are.
All right, I can see. I'll talk about it with her when I talk with her. You know, we'll resolve that schism when we get there. The Banderite schism. It has been a delight to talk to you. You know,
Awesome, man.
I'm very glad that you're alive. Hopefully, that's a persistent trait that'll continue indefinitely into the future, at least for a good few decades.
Hey, but if I do go, if it does happen, you got to watch Bebop for my memorial stream.
I'll pour one out for you as I watch it. I'll pour one out
Thank you.
every one of the 24 episodes.
Thank you. Thank you. I thought it was 26.
I was guessing. I just knew it was 2 seasons. Really though, it's been a delight talking to you. You can shout yourself out, or I can. Which would you prefer?
I'll shout myself out. Right now, like all my Ukraine content is coming out slowly but surely, as well as some video essays on Dylan Burns TV. That's my main channel. But I'm really pushing for my daily upload content, 2 videos a day. My second channel, Dylan Burns Live, and I also have a Twitter, Dylan Burns 1776, that you could follow. Instagram, Dylan Burns TV, Discord as well. A million different things, but a big thing I want to push right now also is my Patreon, Dylan Burns TV on Patreon, because like I talked about earlier, it's really expensive to do this type of work. And if I'm going to take breaks from streaming to do more of this, I need to be able to invest in it. And I need to be able to know that like I have some finances for myself to be able to live. And plus, hiring cameraman and stuff like that in Warzone is very expensive because people don't get shot at for cheap. And I also, I just need to feed myself. So if you guys could, support that, I'd appreciate that as well. But just support me wherever. And if you can't do that, I don't know, go gift a sub to Hassan. I want to help, make sure that we have our next president of the United States ready to go.
Don't gift a sub to Hassan. Gift a sub to Dylan Burns. I can't believe you would even.
Gift a sub to Hassan.
Have a what? Hey, you think pushing this here is going to get you in on his stream? Okay, you've got to be a clouded up e-boy.
I am blocked by Hassan and I'm banned from his Discord.
Are you blocked on Twitter?
I'm blocked and banned from his Discord.
Wait, are you blocked from him on Twitter or?
Yes, I'm blocked from him on Twitter. Yes.
What the fuck? Why?
Because I think it's because I criticized his take on Taiwan once, and I also criticized his take on the Crimean Bridge explosion. I said it wasn't a civilian target. I said it absolutely was a military target, and I was critical of that. And I think that's what got me banned from the Discord. The Twitter block I think was probably Taiwan.
He's an emotional guy. If it makes you feel any better, I'm banned from his Discord as well.
Wow, wait, you're banned? Actually? What for?
His mod team despises me. I actually don't know what for. They just hate me.
Yeah, I mean, Hassan thinks I'm a ruthless neoliberal shell.
Of course,
naturally.
You are making friends with Banderite legionnaires.
True.
Like
I am a Biden Banderite. I'm gonna bring back a new radical ideology to America. The thing is, before we asked you to get vaccinated, we're not asking anymore, buddy.
Yeah, I'm a radical centrist. That is to say, I'm a centrist between being a Banderite and an IRA member. Somewhere in the middle is a perfectly politically centrist militant. And that's where I am.
Black and red. My gosh, that's actually a terrifying combination.
That'd be fucking hilarious, actually. I really appreciate you coming on, man.
Thank you, man. I appreciate you talking to me. I appreciate you continuing to support Ukraine. And I appreciate you like hosting me and continuing to like keep me on your channel. Your community is always very supportive of me. And I probably wouldn't be doing the type of work I'm doing right now if it wasn't for my connections with people like you, who gave me a platform originally when I was still, with the Gravel and everything like that.
My
So I really
audience will
appreciate
always
that.
hold you in high regard.
They will all. That's something you say before like the villain arc, man. Before I like take the villain arc, like it's like you're talking about like, oh, Anakin, you will always be a fantastic buddy. Like you
I
never
have a
know.
surprisingly permissive audience. If they've managed to stick with me, I have a feeling they're going to continue to be supportive of the comparatively far more impressive stuff you're doing.
Sure, okay. Then I will not do a Banderite coup in the United States and ruin my reputation.
Yeah, if I see you wearing Azov insignia in any
Have you
one
seen?
of your
Wait, have you seen
videos.
my tattoo and how people call me a Nazi because of it?
No? Wait, hold on.
Wait, you want to see it?
And
I don't know if it'll come up, but
like,
I'll send it to you.
wait, hold on. This looks like your neck.
No, no, it's not my neck. One second.
Your
Let me send it
chest.
to you. It's on my back.
Oh, wait. How? Oh, wait, this is from 2 years ago. This is a meme. Or is it not a meme? It's just an old tattoo.
It's not mine. Here, let me send it to you.
Mother drug
Send it to you.
free? Okay.
There's the tattoo. You see the Z on the.
Oh, that's dope.
Thank you.
Wow, I can't believe that
Oh, and the other one.
you've ripped the exclusively Nazi iconography of skulls. I was actually about to play Doom later tonight and celebrate the Nazi imagery in Doom because of the skulls.
1 second. You're gonna like this.
That
You're
looks
gonna like
dope as
this.
hell.
Thank you very much. It was designed by a Ukrainian.
It's not surprising, isn't this the
Yeah.
Isn't this the emblem?
Yeah, that's the national symbol. I mean, the whole tattoo was redesigned by him for me, custom. I really appreciated it.
What's the name of the emblem?
The trident. It's the Ukrainian trident, and then it has the Z
Ukrainian.
Skull. Here's the other one. You're gonna like this one.
Trident.
Guess what? Guess what that's from?
There it is. Yeah. Okay, I've seen it. Yeah. Wait. Stalker.
Yep. Oh god. But
I
the thing
recognize
is,
that. I've played these games.
the thing is though, I wanted to get Stalker on my arm, but then I realized it'll make me look like I got marked as a sex offender, so I had to get it in Ukrainian and Russian.
Yeah, but it's a game reference. It's a game reference.
Please, no. Please, I'm not following you.
Yeah, hey, check out this sweet tattoo I got. Points to back, pedophile. It's a game reference. It's
a game reference.
My
You don't
favorite-
understand.
my favorite video game. Guys. No, yeah. Fuck. Are people giving you shit over the Stalker tattoo? I feel
Dude,
like
if it was a pedophile tattoo, I'd just be a Genshin Impact player.
true. It would be a Vaush reference. You really are living the Stalker dream, right? I mean, you've been like pretty close to Chernobyl, haven't you?
Oh, dude, I gotta go to Chernobyl, man. I want to go to Chernobyl so bad. I mean, I've been to possible nuclear disasters in Ukraine. Remember, I went to the Zaporozhye power plant.
Yeah, I remember the Zaporozhye thing.
But I do want to film in Chernobyl. I want to film in Chernobyl really, really bad.
Okay,
I
don't get too close.
I want to get really close.
Okay, but like
I want to go to Pripyat. Pripyat.
the dirt there is spicy. Even all these years after, it's still pretty spicy over there.
Yeah, but if you stay in the Red Forest just for a bit, you'll be fine. Then you get out of there.
Yeah,
The Russians dug trenches, though. They dug trenches.
Yeah, and they're gonna die. It's fine if you're there for a bit, as long as you wear a gas mask. If you inhale any of that spicy dust, it's sticking with you.
Hey, dude, I'm a spicy guy. I need some spicy takes.
All right, if I see a video of you anywhere near the exclusion zone without a gas mask, okay, I'm sicking my audience on you.
You're sicking my yeah. They can come to me, then I'll get them irradiated too, and they'll join my cult. I'm gonna do that, like that thing in Fallout 3 where they're all worshiping the nuke, whatever it's called.
Yeah. At the first town, yeah.
Yeah, the Church of Adam. I'm gonna start that.
Absolutely. Oh, is that Fallout 4? That's the
Fallout 4, Fallout 3. There's multiple people that worship nukes and radiation.
It's a recurring theme in the series.
Yeah, it's almost. I wonder why. I'll never understand it.
Hopefully it just sticks to the series and nothing past that,
True. But gotta say, make an incredible YouTube video.
Oh yeah, for sure. Soy facing at the end of the world, and it's just the thumbnail is a photo of your face silhouetted against the mushroom cloud as you point back at it like the soy nuggies guys.
If I got it out fast enough, I wonder if there would be a period, like, because the whole world wouldn't blow up at the exact same time because nukes would be launched. There would be people who would see that thumbnail for that video, be like, "What?" They look out the window and then they just go, just gone. That would be a fantastic end if I could jump scare people with the end of the world.
Yeah, that's the magic of Twitter too, because there would be like 60,000 people in Ukraine who would like see like trending local, what the fuck? And then they would look outside and see a blast wave headed towards them at the speed of sound.
Yep. Oh God, what a terrible! Could you imagine last moment on the shitter on Twitter? Twitter tells you about to die. Boom, gone.
I mean, hey, at least they had one final social interaction before they went.
That is true.
Yeah.
That is true.
They got a warning.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, nuke jokes aside, really, it's been a delight.
Awesome, man. You have a good one. You keep it up, okay? You keeping the steadfast support for Ukraine here at home, and I'll keep doing it over there, okay, man? And the thanks to the community who have supported me like through this, because like this is a massive change. Like I dropped what was my most successful show to do this, which came with like a lot of trouble. A lot of like I had to get rid of like a lot of people who used to work with me no longer work with me because I just don't. This is not what they signed up for as editors. So I've had a huge changes. So I appreciate all the help from everybody in Vaush's community. You guys have been very helpful.
They'll continue to. Take care,
Awesome, man.
and I'll talk to you soon.
Take care. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye. Cool guy. I do strongly encourage you guys to consume his content, really. I host his streams often, but you should be following him on YouTube. The two channels are Dylan Burns TV and Dylan Burns Live. I don't cover that much day-to-day Ukraine stuff anymore, and I also don't want to, because America has a lot going on right now. But between Dylan Burns, Richard Hannay, and Anna, I feel like that's like the trifecta of, you know, like, I just want you to support, you know, I want you to be supportive, okay? Yeah. Dylan's done a lot of really good stuff. Yeah, I'm America first, baby. Seriously, look at this. Under fire in Mykolaiv.
With the Ukrainian counteroffensive reaching its conclusion with the liberation of the city of Kherson, I want to revisit the start of the counteroffensive. I was in the city of Mykolaiv with two Polish aid workers by the name of Philip and Pavel.
Look, these are like fully edited, high-quality video essays on the main channel. With the title is so clickbait coded, but it's not. Yeah, I got shelled by the Russian army. It's like nice clickbait, but you know he did. So
to interview locals, film across from the Zaporozhye nuclear power plant, deliver aid, and film at a hospital that had been bombed by the Russian army. What I didn't know is that while I was filming at this hospital on August 29th, the Ukrainians would launch the counteroffensive to retake Kherson. Until that point, the
you can take the streamer boy out of the studio, but you can't take you can take the streamer out of the boy, but you can't take the boy out of the
Ukrainians would launch the
he's in sweatpants.
Counteroffensive to retake Kherson. Until that point, the counteroffensive was only talked about in speculative press headlines, vague statements from the military, and rumors about if and when it would be launched. So it was a surprise to us that we got caught up in the middle of this historic event, and it all began while we were filming on top of the hospital.
It's so good. Like, seriously. He's out here, man. Stanced up.
And we don't want to roll the dice too many times and just end up empty-handed. And so, yeah, we're turning it in for today. We got some good footage, though, a good interview with the administrator of a hospital that was attacked by the Russians and damaged by the Russians. We got some footage of Russian...
5:30 for the impact if you want to spoil it. Do I want to spoil it?
The increased risk of danger that filming and making our aid deliveries would bring, and if there were any embeds we could get now that the situation had changed. We walked outside the restaurant at 3:19 p.m. towards the blue van we were using to deliver aid, before a massive explosion shook the ground. The impact from the Russian shell was only 200 feet away from me. Thankfully, I had my camera, and I pressed record.
Oh, fuck! Fuck! Get over here! Philip!
Philip! Get out, there's a war going on. Philip! Come on! Jesus Christ. This shit will never stop being wild to me. Yeah, well, it is a war zone. It makes sense that that would be wild. It's not good.